Здравейте и добре дошли в ден 3 на първият форум за приобщаване и разнообразие на работното място в България, който ще наричаме още Diversity and Inclusion Forum. Събитието се организира от фондация GLAS, фондация Билитис и бизнес мрежата Work It Out в сътрудничество с RG Foundation, Wellness Master Hub, Job Tiger, Growth.bg и vesi.com. Разбира се, няма как и да не споменем нашите домакини от Лончи, които както ни предоставят това прекрасно място, откъдето заснемаме днес, така и платформата, през която ни гледате в момента на живо. Откъдето, напомням, не забравяйте, че можете да ни задавате вашите въпроси, а също така и да използвате Translation сцената в случай, че ви се налага превод. Накратко за мен, аз съм София от фондация GLAS. За тези от вас, които вече може би сме виждали на сцена, най-вероятно е било на някое IT събитие или придружаващите ги IT общности и компании. Няма значение, дори да ме виждате днес за първи път, единството, което трябва да ви интересува е, че аз съм един от най-активните посланици на Diversity and Inclusion на работното място винаги. Но стига толкова за мен. Нека се върнем към програмата за последния ден от Diversity and Inclusion форума, който ви спретнахме. В ден 3 ще си говорим за стратегии и най-вече ще засегнем тези, които позволяват да постигнем благосъстояние или още наричан well-being, така хубава българска дума. Това е едно доста комплексно упражнение по принцип за постигане. Именно за това решихме да наблегнем точно на стратегиите за здраво тяло и щастлив ум, тъй като те са основите на човешкото благосъстояние. Предвид случващото се в световен мащаб в последната година, мисля, че никога не е било по-важно да да насърчим компаниите да създадат такава позитивна култура в фирмите си и също така да не спират да подкрепят както индивидуалното, така и колективното благосъстояние на служителите си. Мисля, че няма какво повече да бавим програмата. Мисля, че е време да обявим и първия лектор за днес. По този повод, I'm going to switch to English now, so that I can present to you Catherine Trahuyo. She is a global CSR manager at Sitel Group, and she's currently on the other side of the world in Mexico, so we did not do very well by her and her well-being because it's 1 a.m. right there. Right? Catherine, can you hear us right now?
Yes, I can. And it's 1:05 a.m. for me currently.
Okay, well, please welcome on the stage and let's hear about the power of giving.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction and for being so considerate and welcome me at 1 in the morning. Very happy to start my day off with everybody here and excited to talk about the power of giving. So, as you know, I'm Catherine Trujillo, the Global Corporate Social Responsibility Manager for Sitel Group. I oversee our global CSR strategy, which is currently implemented in 29 countries for our 110,000 employees around the world. So it's a very important topic of conversation that I'll be sharing with you today so we can really discuss and start to unpack the impact of giving and the impact that you can make from a day-to-day basis. And I think this is such a wonderful topic because it's so prevalent and it's so needed right now with everything that's happening in the world. The power of giving really has the opportunity to change the landscape, to change a culture, to change a mindset, or to change your mood. So we'll dive deep a little bit more and we can talk about what really we can do to support and enhance the power of giving. So I'm going to be sharing some slides with you, and fingers crossed we don't have any technical issues because we know with the power of technology tends to come some hiccups every now and then. But very excited to share with you some of the topics that we'll be discussing today. And as you know, there have been so many influential leaders who have given their lives, who have designed their life purpose around the power of giving, kindness, compassion, and empathy. And one of the most impactful quotes that I've heard is from Mahatma Gandhi. And it's the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And to me, this really means unpacking our ego and really putting aside our personal purpose in lieu of being able to be of service to others and to make an impact in another life or in another community. And some of the most fundamental pieces of giving relate to the power of generosity and the power of empathy. Through generosity, we know that there's an opportunity to increase your happiness and improve job satisfaction even, that supports a collective progress for teams, for dynamics, for organizations, for company cultures that really can improve not just a group identity, but really help solidify your sense of self and your own personal well-being. And the power of generosity can span anywhere from offering a compliment or providing a smile, something simple to maybe something more grand. As we know, working with our organizations, monetary donations, or different elements of social impact, it all makes a difference and it all adds up to the level of generosity that our culture, that your company culture allows and operates through. But most importantly, we need to understand that empathy is what's really a cornerstone in so many development styles, in so many leadership styles, and it's pivotal in providing the opportunity of impact to really make that difference and to understand. Well, if you didn't know, there are actually 3 different types of empathy, and we really can share our own stories and sympathize and empathize with others, but being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes is what makes the true difference, and it can really help change that impact of what we're making. And so through the different types of empathy, first is effective empathy, which is our ability to share another person's emotions, which could mean anything from grief, sadness, pain, to even something as contagious as a smile and happiness. Because when we're seeing other people's emotions, it triggers those same areas in our brain where we're able to recognize and then feel that same emotion. Our second type of empathy that we can navigate through is the cognitive empathy, which is the ability to know how someone feels and help them work out how they're feeling through what they're thinking. So it's problem solving, it's listening to understand rather than listening to necessarily resolve or find a solution for. It's helping us work out our issues, and most oftentimes what we see in the mental health field, working with specific elements of compassion and active listening activities that we have with a mental health counselor or professional. And last but not least, the other key element of empathy that we can talk about is compassionate empathy, which is so vital and what we see very prevalently, because it's about understanding more the why and not just the what's happening. So we really want to be understanding in others' situations and how an individual is feeling and why they may have chosen a certain direction or a certain coping skill. So generosity and empathy are really such a huge foundation when it comes to the power of giving. But let's dive deeper into more of the psychology of what giving really is. Why do we give, and what does giving even look like? Well, from a positive psychology perspective, where we want others to thrive rather than just survive, we're really focusing on engaging a force that is sustainable. And through positive psychology and the power of giving, we have a pathway and a roadmap to make this truly possible. Because when we're thinking about why do we smile back when someone's smiling at us? What's this natural gesture? What's a reward mechanism that's being triggered in our brain right now? Why do we even give? And that stems from the motivation that our brain receives from the hormones that are transmitted through certain emotions. But we also give because the motivation might change for you or I. Sometimes it's just a fun thing to do. Other times it's the right thing to do. As we see right now, it's good for business. But we have to really understand why we're giving because it can change from culture to culture, whether it's a traditional cause to give to or whether it's a spiritual case where we understand the impact of karma. Giving is everywhere and it really is truly universal. But having an emotional connection to what you're giving towards is really what's going to make the opportunity to give that much more important. If we're able to empathize with the cause we're giving to, the individual we're giving to, there's a level of deeper understanding and commitment and synergy that we provide in the giving opportunity, whether that's something small or large, whether it's just you as an individual or in a group setting. We can do something as simple as supporting random acts of kindness or even just paying it forward. And what's exciting is that dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin are triggered, and they're known as the happiness trifecta in our brain. And once these elements are triggered through empathy, through giving, and through generosity, we can use, our body uses these neurochemicals to help produce more stability, a deeper feeling of love, a sense of calmness that we can use that we attribute to giving. So happiness is really not just a memory, but it's really this chemical function that's happening in our brain that's triggering us to do something more of. Our body definitely wants more oxytocin, more dopamine coming in because it's a rush of these positive feelings through our body. And it's really exciting to see the impact we can make from a giving venture. So we'll talk a little bit more about the strategy later. But let's dive deeper from psychology now to some of the benefits, because from giving, there have been studies. There's not just case studies, but psychological studies that we've seen from different organizations and different psychologists around the world and healthcare providers, because we know that generosity and empathy, when combined together, help create a deeper sense of meaning. And that can be something as providing recognition for your employees or promoting kind words, and that helps boost your self-esteem, and that triggers positive emotions and really helps support a bond. So the meaning behind generosity and empathy are really part of this cultural content within an organization, within your family, within relationships that you have and are supported by. But of course, because we want to talk about the overall wellness, and in this scene, it's kind of exciting to know that outside of the neurochemical response, there are a number of other health benefits that are triggered through giving, which include lower blood pressure and increased self-esteem and even lower depression, because our brain is attributing these positive emotions and helping us relax into a deeper sense of self and having some more stability within who we are and where we're at just at this place, at this moment when we're giving. And we know that if we can utilize empathy and generosity in our culture, that's going to lead to better employee morale and higher job satisfaction for our employees. So this is the difference between giving criticism versus constructive feedback. And so we have the opportunity to use our words in a positive way, to use nonverbal communication in a positive way. And because we are in a pandemic where the use of PPE, masks, gloves are required, that eliminates the opportunity for us to see nonverbal communication. So our eyes may be covered, our mouths are covered, our cheeks are covered, our smiles are covered, teeth are covered, and it's harder to truly understand the appropriate reaction we should have if we we don't have that visibility that we're able to see, because nonverbal communication really attributes to over 50% of a conversation. And so it's important that as we're navigating through giving, it's not just words, but it's the actions that are associated to it as well. And kind of the cool thing that we've seen happening within the modality of giving is the opportunity of supporting leadership development. We absolutely want our leaders to be self-aware, to have emotional intelligence where they can understand others and perceive a situation outside of themselves. And I'm so excited because this really is attributed to servant leadership, which is something that we can do each and every day, no matter the rank or role that you have, because servant leadership is really taking precedent where we are right now from a global landscape. We've seen the opportunities of transformational leadership when a number of businesses needed to change their operation style into something more fitting for a virtual role or virtual world where we are virtually commuting to work every day. And now we're getting into a context where servant leadership is going to be a very strong style of leadership that we will be using as we continue to navigate through the pandemic and post-pandemic in supporting local economies, local workforce, youth, and those who've been negatively affected. But the benefits really of generosity and empathy span so much more than that. It goes beyond just having neurochemicals being released in your brain, but we also talk about the energy that we have that's populated from a giving activity. I mean, you're walking down the street and, you know, somebody dropped their book and you pick it up for them, something so simple that can leave that individual you helped in such a positive mood, knowing someone cares and someone is willing to help support. And for you, knowing that you did something positive that you didn't need to, but it was this instinct, this reaction to give. And we are such social creatures that giving is pretty much pretty common sense for us. when we feel we want to give, and when we give, we actually end up wanting to give more, because it increases our happiness levels so much. It triggers this response in our brain to want to do more, to want to get this continuous positive feeling that we have within our body. And we see that very often, I think, with servant leaders. It's a very different style of leadership because it's rooted in this philosophy dedicated to enriching the lives of others and to help create a more caring, sustainable world. And we know that empathy is absolutely essential to support servant leadership because it's rooted in the identity of self-reflection and postured in a way where we can change our perspective. Because as a servant leader, which was coined in the 70s, actually, so it's relatively new, it's initially this feeling of wanting to serve. Service is first, and then comes leadership. So it's really exciting to see that we have so many leaders around the world who have dedicated their lives to being a servant leader, not just Mahatma Gandhi, but maybe Mother Teresa as well, or global philanthropists that we've seen who are making a pivotal impact in the world around us. But most importantly, you, and in your day-to-day relationships and associations that you have, that you come across. More often than not, you're probably a servant leader, which is very different from maybe some other styles of leadership that have been explored. And it's so exciting to see because as a servant leader, you want to see growth and development of your team, of your community. And we have this really great alignment with what's happening in the world and how we're all trying to stay connected. But some of the ways that we can enhance our empathy a little bit, because it's a skill. we can fine tune it, if you will, and train a little bit more to be even more self-aware, because that's the exciting thing about being a servant leader. You're never perfect, but you're always growing, and you're always learning from your team first and foremost, what they need and where they're going, so you have a full picture. But I just wanted to offer some insights of how we can become a better leader, leading through empathy. And the first is to be present, to really just stay in the conversation with the team rather than getting distracted by all these opportunities or emails that are, and Skypes and pings that you're getting from your teammates, but to just be present in the moment for that moment. And another important feature is to let others speak. So speaking of inclusive environments at the workplace, some of our colleagues we know are not the first to take a stab or to speak in a group setting. And so it's important as a leader that you ensure collaboration with all of your teammates, whether there's, cognitive diversity or diversity of opinion that may happen. It's important to hear others' opinions and to support team bonding. And one of the ways to do that is to build trust with your team. And number 3 is to listen to understand. So, of course, it's so easy to be so solution oriented and say, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's implement X, Y, and Z. And we can band-aid this for now and put a long-term strategic plan in place later. But listen to understand not just what the problem is in your department or on your table, but maybe what your team is going through as well. Because pressures, changes in workplace, all affect who we are and how we work together as a team. So number 4, be deliberate with what you say. Be confident in how you speak, and just know that if you have something to share, that you have the opportunity to share it. Number 5 is exercising patience. So in a very fast-paced world, when working in the BPO industry, it's just constant change, and you definitely need to be adaptable. So with adaptability requires a lot of patience. And sometimes it's really hard to put into perspective when there are deadlines or when there are requests and requirements. And your project is interdependent, where you can't just complete it all on your own, but you require the support of other departments. There's cross-functional support that comes in, or there's even technical difficulties. So number 6, we would definitely want to encourage growth from an empathetic style. There's learning curves to everything we do. First and foremost, you can take the time to really just focus on yourself and how you're growing. Don't put pressure on yourself to grow, as you wouldn't put pressure on others and force them into a growth mindset. But take the time to encourage it and have growth as part of your